Now, maybe you were a Dolphins fan that had some reason for hope and expectations heading into 2021. I don't know why, but you know what? Maybe you did. Maybe you're saying, hey, Tua can actually be healthy, play a full season. Maybe Brian Flores won't be such a dipshit in the way he handles the offense and specifically his quarterback situation. He can't be that much of a moron. Sucks to your ass, Piggy. That's what you think. Fuck. Now, to be fair, I mentioned here, several times involving general manager Chris Greer that they better fucking be right about Tua. Because they passed on drafting Justin Herbert in 2020. That was mistake one. And then number two, they traded out of a spot where they could have drafted Trey Lance in 2021, did not draft another quarterback in 2021. They better get this right. And unfortunately, if you're a Dolphins fan, you can want and wish and hope and believe that Tua is the guy right now, but you have to be honest with yourself. Don't lie to yourself because you're not going to bullshit me. You have absolutely no indication that he can be that dude. You see this glimmer or flicker of hope, and you want to gravitate and levitate towards that. That's fine and good. Whatever gets your jollies off, whatever gets you through the day. But that doesn't mean you're fully disconnected with or fully connected with reality here. Because the reality is, you don't know. And after 2 years, that should concern you. Now, maybe when you look at the week one game, they beat the Patriots 17-16, you're like, hey, you know what, all right! And then they proceeded to Flores up, meaning fuck up. The next 7 games, they lost all of them. In only one of those 4 games did their defense give up fewer than 24 points, and that was to the Jags, and they still lost to Jacksonville. Urban Meyer's Jacksonville team. That's Brian Flores' handiwork, his masterpiece. You beat the Patriots week 1, and then you lose the next 7 damn games. I know, you got a lot of dopes and morons that bought into Miami sure as fuck rallied the second half of the season. They won 8 of their last 9 games. But goddamn it, the context matters here. They beat the Texans, who were terrible. They beat the Ravens on a short week at home in Miami. And we know some of the history there in terms of those Thursday night games for the home teams. It usually goes well. The Jets suck. They beat them. The Panthers suck. They beat them. The Giants stink to high hell. Beat them. Beat the Jets again, who stink to high hell. Beat the Saints on Monday night with Ian Book as your fucking starting quarterback for the Saints. And when you're in a spot in a regular season game that matters in 2021 and you're starting Ian Book in the NFL as your starting quarterback at any point in time, that's a problem. I mean, Christ. And then you can say, well, they beat the Patriots again. Okay, maybe Brian Flores knows how to beat Bill Belichick, but nobody fucking else. The bottom line is Tua wasn't absolutely terrible, but he certainly wasn't terrific. He missed 4 games due to injury, but then also had to deal with some of the stupidity of Brian Flores. Well, he's too hurt to start, but he's not too hurt that we can't list him as number 2, but then we're going to put him in anyways, because Brian Flores is a fucking moron. He's not the only one, though. Imagine going into an NFL season saying Myles Gaskin's going to be our starting running back. You have all this draft pick capital, and that's the best you've done over the past couple of years to address it. Myles Gaskin is a role player, but he was a former late-round pick for a reason. He's not that type of dude. That's why you finished 30th in the league in damn rushing. Jalen Waddle certainly looks like the real deal and is a great fit there in Miami. Mike Gesicki, if you bring him back, you got something at tight end, but the problem is, too, as much as everyone wants to focus on Tua, it's that fucking offensive line. They invested quite a bit. First round pick, second round pick, third round pick, fourth round pick, seventh round pick. Point is, they've invested a lot of draft pick capital into that offensive line, and their offensive line and pass protection gave up 235 pressures this year, the most in the league. They were absolute dog shit. Austin Jackson looks like a complete fucking bust. Maybe that's a reflection of having 3 different offensive coaching staffs in 3 fucking years. Maybe, just maybe, that points to what I've been talking about all along, that Brian Flores is a fucking moron and deserved to be fired. Because their defense, everybody talks about their defense. They were epitome of the middle of the pack statistically. What the fuck are you talking about? There's a reason Dolphins fans that know aren't exactly that upset that asshole's gone after 3 years. Like, he was fucking not good at his job. What is so hard for people to understand about this? It's irritating as hell to me that a lawsuit that has so much merit to it, you've got this asshole as the face of it, when there are so many other guys that actually merit being the face of that. An Eric Bieniemy, a Jim Caldwell, a Leslie Frazier, a Todd Bowles. There are other dudes you could have went with. Resurrect Sherman Lewis from the goddamn grave if you must. Well, this asshole wasn't even a defensive coordinator. He was a linebackers coach in New England. Got this opportunity in 3 years. He showed he was a jackass who treated people like shit, who mismanaged his quarterback situation, constantly went through his offensive coaching staff. What team in their right fucking mind would want this guy immediately after that failure? I mean, and even now you're talking about, he didn't get the Giants job. Maybe he didn't get the Giants job because it was actually somebody that a team fell more in love with, was more qualified, was a better fit. That shit happens, buddy. This constant thing about like the epitome of taking no responsibility or accountability. Like, now he wants everybody to rally around his cause, but when Kenny Stills is protesting, what did Brian Flores' bitch ass do? Exactly. Sit the fuck down. The only thing that's fucking ridiculous to me about the Miami Dolphins is that Chris Greer is still the general manager. Why in the hell was he allowed to hire a third head coach when his 2 previous swipes were fucking Adam Gase and Brian Flores? This team's made the playoff once in like his entire tenure, and how the hell does he still have a job? Does he enjoy taking it up the ass from Stephen Ross? Does Stephen Ross like giving it to him up the ass? Or is it a vice versa relationship? Is Chris Greer the power top, or is he the power bottom? Who fucking knows? Either way, somehow, someway, he was able to persevere. One of the 2 bums was fired, but the wrong bum still has a job. Although, when I look at who they hired as head coach, Mike McDaniel, man, this is fascinating. This is exactly the type of dude that the Miami Dolphins needed to bring in here. This is a guy that knows offensive football. This is a guy that's worked with the Shanahans and the McVays of the world and so forth. This is a guy that if I wanted to get the most out of Tua that I possibly could, he's the type of guy that I think could do that. If I wanted to make sure that Jalen Waddle becomes an elite player, a Deebo Samuel type of performer in terms of statistics and impact, not necessarily play style, I want Mike McDaniel as the head coach. Like, it's either going to be an absolute joke or this shit's going to work splendidly well. If you're a Dolphins fan, you should be excited about this because now you've got some stability on the offensive side of the ball. You have an offensive-minded head coach that actually knows what the fuck he's doing on the offensive side of the ball. And he's not quite a jackass. He actually has some personality here. And now you're working with a team that has a shit ton of salary cap space. Still got questions about what you're going to do with the quarterback situation. But let's say you're giving Tua the benefit of the doubt here for 2022. Number one goal of the program is to fix that fucking offense. Fuck that defense. It can pound an ass for the offseason. Every single position on that offense can be addressed. And where do you start? Left tackle, right guard, center, right tackle, left guard. Some combination, you have to address every single one of them. Trotting any of those assholes back out for 2022 would be a mistake. Until they prove otherwise. You have to address that offensive line. Yes, you've invested a lot in that offensive line. The investment needs to continue. And hopefully you'll have a better coaching staff in place that actually knows how to develop the talent on the offensive line that might actually stick around more than the season. But you also need to improve that running game. Myles Gaskin cannot be your number one option as a running back. In terms of the wide receivers, Jalen Waddle, great. What else you got? You need another wide receiver. What, are you going to keep hoping for Devontae Parker to do more than what he actually is? I don't think so. Like, it's all about offense. So at least I give Chris Greer credit. He's the moron that hired Adam Gase. He's the moron that hired Brian Flores. Got it better here with Mike McDaniel, and at least they're addressing the right side of the ball. But, man, do they have a lot of work to do there.